What's up, Life in the Pocket people? This is Hunter here. We're doing another episode. This is going to be a tight episode. We're talking about our top 3 Harry Potter movies, and then we wrap up with the beginning of our new series coming, a couple of episodes, maybe even 10. We don't even know. Is the KJV the most accurate translation, and all the things that surround that statement. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and follow us on Spotify, subscribe on Apple Podcast app. Watch us on YouTube, and you can also like us on Facebook to keep updated with all the episodes that get posted. And we love our patrons. Go to patreon.com/litp if you want to become a patron or if you want to see the benefits of becoming a patron. Let's get this episode started. Welcome to another great episode of Life in the Pocket.
This dude just drummed on his microphone.
I'm Hunter. We have Mash and Coleman and...
Hello, everyone.
Watch your ears.
Hey, before we go ahead and get started, I thought about something. Did any of y'all buy... I might have already asked you this. Did y'all pledge on the Kickstarter campaign for
No.
Cards Christians like?
I didn't.
I did not.
I did.
Wow.
I didn't buy any of the expansion. I bought one expansion pack, but this was the one that was printed. All the other expansion packs you have to print yourself until they print them. But I'm not going to.
How do you do that? How does that work?
I guess they send you like a PDF. I wasn't down for that. Anyways, I'm not hating on them. I just was like, I'd rather wait for them to print
You
it
have to,
and then I'll buy the
print it
printer.
out on like hard card stock and then cut it or something. Like,
I guess
how does
it's up
that?
to
How
you.
does this work?
I don't know. Anyways, but one of them was the thorn in Paul's flesh was the fact that he couldn't read Harry Potter novels.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
So this isn't a plug for Cards Christians like, but if you're a Christian, you want to play a game that's like Cards Against Humanity.
If you want to play Cards Against Humanity without feeling that guilty,
yeah.
play this game.
And it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. Anyways, so we're going to start this episode off with
a top 3. We need some segue. We need
I'm sampling that and I'm making an intro.
Good. Do it.
Top 3.
And today's top 3 will be Mash.
Thank you, Mash, for that beautiful music.
What's
Just
today's
slide
top 3, Mash?
Just slide Coleman's on over mine, and I think it'll mesh.
There you go. I love it.
I got a good feeling about that. I feel like they'll work. Top 3.
What's today's top 3?
As you so appropriately introduced and foreshadowed, our top 3 is going to be top 3.
Man, we shouldn't have done top 3 on this one because now I'm seeing all of them. And
I think we should just pick our favorite one.
No, we got to do top 3. We got to.
Okay,
Because
well.
top 3 creates the tension. You know what I mean? The tension.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Harry Potter films. Is it specifically films?
I'm doing
Yes,
films just
films.
because I haven't read all the books.
This is a completely
And
different
on
ballgame.
a side note, whoever's running the Harry Potter podcast, I noticed you stopped posting episodes.
Yeah, I noticed as well.
What
and
the
I noticed
frick
that
is
that weird agenda. Whoever's doing this has an agenda.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Because the Sorting Hat is not that feminine.
Yeah.
Hold
The
up.
You can't assume that he's gay.
Hold up. What?
Whoever reads the Sorting Hat songs is
Wait.
Songs?
very feminine in nature.
So the Sorting Hat is rather flamboyant. Is what you're
Exactly.
saying.
Not rather, extremely.
That's interesting.
And it's
not,
disheartening.
It's not subtle
okay.
at all.
You know what? We're diving right into the
And
controversy.
here's the thing. I'm not saying, I want to go on record to not say that the Sorting Hat can't not be gay. He can.
Sure.
But the
He
way
was
they
not,
portrayed
though.
him
He
in
wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't, though.
The way they portrayed him in the first movie,
And-
he is a staunch man.
And second movie.
He's gruff and old and sounds very regal.
Right.
Gryffindor.
Yeah,
Exactly.
not peppy and
No, not
Gryffindor.
Okay,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
I haven't heard these
It's rough.
podcasts, but
It's
my
rough.
blood is boiling.
Also, whoever's in charge got Whoopi Goldberg to read a chapter, and I'm just like, okay, what's happening?
I need to go on record and say this because we're here in this moment. This is right along the lines of like Disney movies and like casting,
Yeah, it is.
like whatever. It's like people get up in arms. I can't even think of what was it what was happening with the Little Mermaid?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, people were like,
There was a gay kiss in Beauty and the Beast live action movie. I remember that one. They were upset
I
about.
don't remember that. I'm not talking about like specifically an agenda of like normalizing.
There was another one too. Oh yeah, the
I'm talking.
the one with the blue people.
I think they had cast little Ariel in the Little Mermaid as like an African American.
Oh, well, that
girl.
is. I mean, I could care less about that. I don't care.
Oh well, okay.
Here's the thing. I mean, I have an issue with it if it's solely for the fact that like we wanted Ariel to be African American because we want African Americans to like be, you know, the same as white people or something like that. If that makes sense.
I don't know what you just said.
I'm saying like if it's an agenda of like, you know, we want there to be as many black people represented on movies as there are white people, then I don't really understand the purpose of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Well, what I'm saying is like people get like I'm just saying there shouldn't be a political
right. Yeah.
like
agreed.
side to it.
to a children's movie.
I don't care.
Yeah. Well, like I don't want I would be confused and a little put off by that choice. Why? Because The Little Mermaid has already existed
Right. Yeah, I see what you're
as
saying.
like this character. This is the character. You
Right.
know, I don't
Yeah.
want it to be changed
Yeah.
like for some kind of statement. Like I
Right.
already have an expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's frustrating. Same with the Sorting Hat.
Yeah. Right.
It's like we already know the Sorting Hat's character
Right.
and have all these expectations
Right.
for
They
attributes.
And I
did this. They did this with the Percy Jackson movies. If you've read those
Yes.
books, then you know that like they go into detail about what the characters look like, how
Yes.
they act. One of the main characters,
Annabelle,
Annabeth,
she looked nothing.
she looked
like,
nothing like it, but also Grover, the satyr,
Yeah.
was like had like red hair and was like a pasty white kid, and he was like he was a black guy in the movie, which like isn't an issue. It's just like, and then it made it this like
That's
kinda-
all. That's all.
I really wish they would continue those movies.
I
love
here's the
that
thing though.
series.
I loved the book series too, but in the second movie they knew that they weren't going to get renewed for a third movie, so they combined. I don't know if you saw the second movie.
I don't think I have.
So
I need
listen,
to watch that.
So you remember I think it was the third or fourth book was the Labyrinth book.
Yeah.
Was there only 4 total?
There's 4.
Okay, so the third book I
thought the second one. Are you talking about where they go and see Pan and all that? I thought that was number 2.
no, that's
Sea of
number 2 is
Monsters.
Sea of Monsters.
Yeah, Sea of Monsters is number 2. But here's what they did in the
and
movie.
then there's like Mount Olympus or whatever.
What they tried to do, I think they must have known that they weren't going to get renewed for a third movie because they tried to wrap up the series at the end of the second movie. They did the whole deal where in you know how in the Labyrinth book they what's his name is resurrected, what's his name, the evil guy.
Seamus Diggory.
No, thank you for that, but no, it's I can't remember his name. But they do all the events that happen leading
yes,
up
I do
to.
remember.
So they combine Sea of Monsters and whatever the book's called, something Labyrinth. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway,
Yeah, I'll look it up.
but it's terrible. The timing, it's so bad.
Not well done. Which reminds me of our why we're even talking about this. We're supposed to be picking our favorite Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Our top 3. We're gonna do top 3. We
Yeah.
said the segment already, but top 3 Harry Potter films, not books. Films.
All right.
Hey, before we get into it, I have one more thing, and this is not going to take a while. But it's about what you said when you said don't try to flip it after it's already been kind of created. Like what was that movie with the blue guys? It's the new movie at Disney. They're blue.
Avatar?
Smurfs.
No,
Avatar.
they're like wizards.
Whoa.
Wizards.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? Their
Like
dad's
necromancers?
their dad's
literally?
like invisible or something.
Yeah,
half
that's
invisible.
I forget what that's called. I haven't
Anyways,
seen it though.
So they were talking about the agendas that were pushed on that, and like there's like a lesbian or something, whatever.
Oh, Onward.
Onward.
Yes,
I haven't seen it.
and
I haven't
watched
seen
it and was not offended one bit. And what they say is bad is there's a woman who is like her name is she's a manticore, so she's like a flying horse thing, and she's very masculine,
Okay.
and that's why they have issues with it.
Well, also there's a part
mean,
when they get pulled over by the cops that I've also seen somebody post about this, was that they said something about somebody's moms or something.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Like
too.
it was like, yeah, I mean, it was just like
Yeah.
there was a gay couple.
I don't know where we're.
represented.
I mean, it's just like.
Anyways, top 3 Harry Potter movies. We're gonna go with movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly because I haven't read
And just
all
to
the books.
clarify, I have no problem with African Americans being represented. I didn't want my views to be misinterpreted.
That's why I asked you
I
to
just want
restate that.
I have
If
no
s-
problem with
yeah.
Ariel being black. I have no problem with any character being black. It's just odd whenever
No.
it gets changed when you have a preconceived. When I read those
Listen.
books and they give you a description.
Princess and the Frog. I want Tia to be a black girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they
yeah.
remake that movie, I want her to be
100%.
I want her to be black.
I don't know if I
'Cause
explained
that's-
that the way that I needed to. Hopefully,
You know?
yeah. Hopefully that doesn't get whatever. But top 3 Harry Potter films, not books, because it would be a different list for me if it was books.
Whoa. Okay.
All right,
You
so
got to start at number 3.
starting at number 3.
Am
who
I going
wants to
first?
go first?
Am I going first?
Yeah, somebody but me.
Here's what I'm going to preface with mine in my list. I'm going to say the way that I'm ranking these are based on, for me, rewatchability, which I find myself gravitating towards these more than the others. Okay. The actual film itself, does it stand as a standalone film? Makes kind of adds to the rewatchability, right? Like if you aren't going to sit down and watch all of them in order, can this stand alone kind of thing? If you're not maybe even a fan of Harry Potter, can you sit down and watch this movie and enjoy it, right? And 3, just like filmmaking and film quality. You take all the Harry Potter magic aside and you just look at the film. Is it good? That's how I'm kind of going into this.
Dude,
and,
I need to rewatch them all.
do I like, anyway. So that's how I'm kind of gauging this. I'm going to go 3 and I'm going to cheat a little bit here because
they're the same.
I'm going to cheat a bit because collectively they should have been one movie.
I'll agree with it. That's what I was going to say. Anyway.
Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 is going to take my number 3 spot.
Oh, so we can combine those.
I'm going
you
to.
might as well.
I mean,
it's
I'm
one
gonna,
book.
Like if I had to choose one, I think I like the timing and like the pace of the first one better. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I like how that one feels. It's kind of like a thriller, like suspenseful kind of feeling movie, but it really isn't. It doesn't stand alone. Like you need the second movie too.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say collectively both of those. That's why I said I was cheating a little bit.
Hunter, throw out your number 3. Or do we want to go person by? Do we want to go 3-3-3?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with since we're doing the watchability. Probably my favorite one to just sit down and watch and enjoy.
Wait, is this your number 3?
This is my number 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because now my number 2 and number 1 are kind of like linked together because I love number 1 so much because of number 2.
Okay.
And this will make sense when I get there. But anyways, number 3 for me is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Okay.
Mainly because you're kind of in the meat of Harry Potter at this point, so
Right.
you kind of have an understanding of what the wizarding world is about.
You should.
And then now they're going to take you outside of Hogwarts and show you more of what
Yeah.
the wizarding world has
Yep.
to offer.
Yeah.
And it's just it's bringing it. I feel like what it does is, for me, is it brings it to a point where, like, these wizards that I've been learning about are just normal people. Like, they have dances. They compete in wizarding cups. They have little love triangles going on. Not triangles, but little thing. It kind of helps you just love Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
It's relatable. It's
Yeah.
hashtag relatable.
And maybe even Neville when he's dancing with Miss
Wow. With Ginny.
Dude,
with
his-
Professor
His dress robes.
Yeah,
McGonagall.
remember when he has to dance with Professor
Oh,
McGonagall?
gotcha.
That's
In
great.
in the dancing class.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about at the dance when he's dancing with Jenny.
I don't have like super deep reasons. I've picked mine, and they're pretty simple explanations. My number 3 is also Goblet of Fire, just because, like you said, it's kind of in the middle of the franchise. The effects are good at this point.
Yeah, I
It's
forgot
quality.
to mention that.
It's a quality film. I just like the whole Goblet of Fire like thing is fun
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Like the games, the
Yeah.
competition.
Absolutely.
And like you said, there's a lot of elements that like make it bring a connection.
I like how it brings Voldemort like as a thing now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's intense. It's a pretty big turning point.
Yeah. So, okay. So my number 2 is Goblet of Fire.
Okay.
So I'll just add on to that. What I found enjoyable about Goblet of Fire, it's the same when I was reading it. The third, 1 through 3 leading up, like you kind of got the same, different story, but almost the same content as far as like what they did. You knew about, the school, you knew about Quidditch, you knew about the characters. There were just hijinks, there was crazy stuff that was happening within those things.
It's kind of like it's your typical like mystery series where what's going to happen at school this year.
Exactly.
Thing. Yeah.
But then, like you said, in the fourth one, we get a new. I remember reading the fourth one and being like, how have they not talked about the Triwizard Tournament already?
Yeah.
Tournament.
How have we not?
Tournament.
How have we not heard about this?
Triwizard Tournament.
Like, and also you get to experience this. There's a new political kind of side to this with the Death Eaters and kind of how they come into play with Voldemort and how they're outside of the castle, like you're talking about,
and they're watching the
they go to the
Quidditch
Oh,
game.
Quidditch
I
World
forgot
Cup.
to add it. That was one of my main reasons for loving that movie is because I love the Quidditch World Cup.
Yeah.
Well, here's the
It's
thing.
sick.
Here's the thing.
Victor Crumb.
There's like a two-chapter.
He's
There's
an
like
animal.
2 chapters of Quidditch World Cup in the book. Like that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people. That's a lot of the reason people, if they don't like the Goblet of Fire, that's a big reason why is that they were most excited about the Quidditch World Cup and it was like underrepresented in the movie. I get it. Like you only have so long to make a movie. That's a very long book, by the way.
That boy thick.
The longest so far in the series. And so that's my number 2 is Goblet of Fire.
I think my number 2.
We gotta move.
Yeah, I can't set it up because if I set it up, you're gonna know what my number 3 is. But
mean your number
Half-Blood
1?
Prince,
Okay.
and I love the Half-Blood Prince because, I mean, it paints.
I don't know.
It paints the picture.
It
starts to reveal
to turn the
Snape's sides
tables.
of the story.
Well, exactly. It sets
Side.
up. It sets up perfectly.
Yes.
That's true.
So now you know what my number 1
yeah,
is.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
My number 2 is the Deathly Hallows, just because it's the epic freaking like fine finale, and I have to put it in the top 3.
Yeah.
Because it's the latest cutting edge.
Yeah.
Like it's in freaking intense action, a freaking wizard war. I mean, it was lit.
You know that
okay.
moment, like I felt like I was. Like I'm embarrassed to be the guy that claps at the end of the movie, but like when Voldemort
We did a
shot
whole
the Elder
episode
One
on
into the
movie
sky,
claps.
I got
We literally
chills.
did. We
I got
literally
chills.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so this brings me to my number 1, which is kind of a dark horse because of now I've heard you guys's, but Prisoner of Azkaban is my number 1.
No,
So
that's my number 1.
let me tell you why. Okay, let me tell you why. Because I knew it was my favorite, but then also I saw a video. There's a YouTuber called Nerd Writer, and he talks about movies, and he goes like really in depth on like the filmmaking of movies. He goes in depth on sometimes like the scores of movies and all this stuff. And they're the
Wait, what was your
filmmaking-
number 1? Sorry.
Prisoner of Azkaban.
Ah, okay.
So the filmmaking aspect of Prisoner of Azkaban, as far as like the use of like imagery and the use of clocks. If you've ever watched that movie, you know it
Yes.
has a weird thing with clocks.
Oh yes.
And the whole movie, the whole basis of the story in the book is around this idea of time and going back in time and changing things that are in the past.
Is the book similar?
I mean, the book is like, yeah.
That was another thing, too, is when I started reading or listening to Sorcerer's Stone, just an interjection, the similarity between the book and the movie is amazing. Like,
yeah, right.
Now, I'm sure they left stuff
So you
out.
had never read You've never read Sorcerer's Stone?
I read Sorcerer's Stone when I was like in 3rd grade.
Okay.
So, like, I had no recollection. Anyway, sorry.
This, to me, too, like, it's kind of similar to Goblet of Fire, but not, like, it gives us a new look on, it gives us more information on the first 2 books and movies. If you're watching them, you're still kind of in the back of your head wondering, like, why were Harry's parents murdered? Why did this stuff happen? Like, what's going on with Voldemort? Like what's the deal? Like, we don't have the full picture yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so we start to kind of unwrap that story a little bit. And with Sirius Black, I mean, if you've seen the movie, you know, like, it's a complete, like, 180. Like, there's a point in that story where you find out exactly kind of what his role was with Harry's parents. And then for a moment, you're devastated because he was their best friend and you think that he betrayed them. But then you find out that it was their other best friend, and it was the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole time you were thinking that Sirius was the bad guy when really it was this other one. Sorry, spoilers. Anyway,
No.
If you haven't seen Prisoner of Azkaban at this point,
who saw that coming?
I would really highly recommend the video that was talking about is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, why it's the best. And I watched that video and I was like, this is insane. I never really even realized any of this. This is from a filmmaking side. And so that's why it's my number 1. I find myself wanting to watch it more than all of the other ones.
Yeah.
I'm going to, just because mine's also The Prisoner of Azkaban, so I'll just tack
That's
on.
your number 1?
Yes. Simple reasons. It has a very nostalgic place in my heart. I love the Patronus charm.
Oh, yeah.
I love, like, that whole concept.
Yeah, it's good
and
stuff.
the discovery and the whole, like, father thing with the stag and them like, well, who cast the stag?
Right. Yeah.
On
good.
the lake.
It's good.
Who cast the Patronus charm on the lake when the Dementors were coming down on us?
It's the same concept and thing that you kind of try to wrap your head around with the whole Avengers time travel.
Yeah, so
like the whole deal of if you go back in time and it's Back to the Future too. If you go back in time and change the past, you're changing the future, but that past is your future.
Yeah, it's way better than Back to the Future because Back to the Future.
What's most impressive is this is movie 3 too.
Yeah. No, I love it because I love movies that involve that make your brain like work so hard.
Right.
Interstellar, one of my favorite movies of all time.
And it works you.
Because these things are happening. Back to the Future is not nearly as deep because the whole plot of Back to the Future is you're following the characters. They start in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what obviously hence the title.
Right.
Interstellar, Prisoner of Azkaban. Things are happening along the normal. Because when you get to the end of the movie, as you're progressing through the movie, your brain is jumping back to all the things you've already seen and having to like connect it. And you're like, you're having freaking epiphanies throughout the whole movie. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And
For
so,
sure.
And the only person that could have pulled that off was Hermione anyway, so.
Yeah,
it's
absolute
true.
legend.
And Christopher Nolan, he could have done it too.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 1 obviously is the Deathly Hallows. And that's because once Snape dies and gives Harry that tear, put in the pensive, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's just
Epic.
you want to cry. That's my thing is like
Chilling.
all the movies have the first one, every time I watch the first one, I'm like, how did I not realize how bad this movie is? Like the content is great.
Yeah,
but the
it's old.
movie
I mean, it's an old
the
movie.
first movie.
It's like the first Star Wars.
Anyways, but all of them, Prisoner of
It's
Azkaban. I love the scene when they're in the house and you figure out so much. Or like I love the what is it called? The Marauders map or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that because it gives you a look on not just Harry's school, but how it was when they all went to school back in the Gap. then you see and then you see this happen. Well, then Goblet of Fire, you're learning this new thing. Order of the Phoenix, you're learning more about this like collective of people that are actually fighting the Death Eaters. Half-Blood Prince, I already said that was my number 2. And then Deathly Hallows, because he dies and you figure out his side of the story. But also my favorite, it's hard to pick a favorite, but like the description, the little story thing of the Deathly Hallows, I feel like I could watch that a million times and be just as like drawn in.
It was captivating.
Oh my gosh, it was awesome.
Or the Three Brothers,
yes,
is that what you're talking
Three
about?
Brothers.
Yeah.
It was great.
Guys, we spent a long time talking about Harry Potter.
Yeah, we're at 25 minutes.
Spoiler alert for you listeners, we had a little bit of a smaller window to record this episode.
Spoilers.
We had something that we kind of wanted to talk about. We didn't really get to it. I say we just intro it.
And just discuss it.
And I'd say we just
I
intro.
say we use the next, like,
you have
2
you have a
episodes
guitar lesson in 5 minutes.
No, he's going to be late. He's going to be here at 3:15.
Yeah, so we can kind of intro
never mind.
into it and then take our next. I think we could take up several episodes on this.
Yeah.
At least one whole
It depends
episode.
on where it goes and how we're feeling about it.
Right.
But
kind of give us the main idea of what we were kind of talking about.
Here's the main
earlier.
idea.
I feel like every other podcast we listen to and they do a top 3, it's like 5 minutes, and we just spent 25 minutes.
I mean, I just love to talk about Harry Potter.
I could talk about. We could really just spend. We should do an episode on each movie.
It's so funny. Literally today. So my, I guess he's actually my stepbrother, which is weird to say. We don't go around talking about it just because we don't live around each other. So it's not like. But my stepmom's son and his wife are visiting us. But I mentioned, I was like, yeah, we're supposed to record the podcast. And he was like, oh, you guys do a podcast? Like, what's it called? I love podcasts. I was like, it's called Life in the Pocket. He's like, what's it about? I'm like,
That's a good.
well,
Whatever you want it to be.
I said, it's about literally, it's loosely based around worship music and gear and that lifestyle. But
At the same time, it's not at all.
it is a freaking,
If you listen to the past 2 episodes, well, we talked about gear in the last
it is
one.
a random draw. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's very much like life.
yeah.
In the
that's
pocket.
why we called it that.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
'cause
it's
we left it open to where we're not confined to anything.
Right.
And I love
Right.
it. I love
Yeah,
it.
I love it too. I do.
Anyway, so moving into our new topic that might be 5 episodes, it might be 2. But we're just going to give you a preliminary of what it's going to be about.
Yeah, what I was saying is a few episodes, you heard me, a few episodes ago, I was talking about how my birthday was coming up, and I was asking.
He's going to buy his first Bible.
Yeah, Demyron was here, and we talked a little bit about Bibbles. So I now have my Bibble, my new Bibble. And
The Bibble.
I'll stop saying that.
Can I feel it?
Yeah, go for it. It's
nice.
really nice.
Yeah.
I
And
love
it's a
it.
King James
His new
This
Bible.
is it, guys.
His new Kijavibble.
It's beautiful. Shout out. My mom gave it to me for my birthday.
And you know what they say? Once you go King James, you never go back.
Yeah.
Because all the others is lames.
Got my name on it, of course.
Hey.
Got the nice whatever you want to call this. I don't know. It's goat skin.
Spine?
You know, that's
Yeah,
that's
the
actually
lettering.
an H KJV.
Coleman. HKJV.
Yep.
We got the tat. We got two markers.
Is that a 1611 KJV?
It's an authorized King James.
You're only
version.
allowed
Okay.
to put this one on
New
pages
Testament?
where Jesus talks.
Yeah. If
Okay.
you don't, you'll
And we
go to
got
hell.
the
If you
little
don't,
tabs
the
for quick
ribbon
access.
will burn in half.
If you're a bad Baptist like me and you you haven't memorized every book in the Bible in order, these tabs are a lifesaver. I'm just like, oh, Romans.
Yep.
Open right up to
I
it.
like that a lot, actually.
Why would you? It's so good.
And the reason why we're showing this Bible is because if you don't remember, Mash mentioned a podcast where they are KJV onlyers.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we're going to discuss, is KJV the most accurate translation?
We're not. I'm gonna be honest. We're not gonna discuss that because we're not qualified.
Well, we can
might-
discuss it.
We're
Yeah.
going to discuss it.
Well,
We're
We're
not
not
going
going to come to a conclusion.
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to present the general discussion that goes on. The discussion is here's the position of KJV only as I understand it.
Jesus wrote it, so it's good.
The doctrine of
King James wrote it.
the doctrine of preservation, the inspiration of Scripture. They would basically say the King James, because here's the deal: different interpretations, translations, I guess they're not in. I'll call
manifestations,
whatever. They use
double entendrations.
They use lots of different words than each other.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Is that
one will say donkey and one will say
ass.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Mash. Now we're going to
have
put
to bleep
explicit.
it out.
Dude,
We're going to put
don't
explicit
you
on this
dare.
episode.
Don't you dare bleep me out. So yeah, but the point is, the question rather is God's word. Because here's what we believe. Whether or not we are reading a King James Bible, the three of us would agree that God's word is 100% without error. Okay?
Inerrant.
So we all believe and agree there are no errors
Absolutely.
in God's word.
100.
Yet all of the translations use different words, different sentence structures. So the question is, did God have in mind, and did he preserve the exact words that for us to read? The exact words, the exact syntax, sentence structure, so on and so forth. So that's the general question around the KJV discussion.
Yeah.
So
as of right now, I would say I lean a little bit away from KJV. I've listened to the podcast and they make some arguments, and I haven't debunked them all yet.
Yeah.
So we haven't gotten into.
But yeah, we're just going to discuss.
We haven't gotten into proving or disproving or like that position. But what I have done, the most convicting and convincing episode for me, like I'm at a point right now, I've been convinced enough to where I am just excited to have this King James version and am enjoying reading it because it's like reading a whole new thing.
People talk about it as like a very phenomenal piece of work.
I mean, I'm loving it to be curt. But
yeah.
Is that in the King James?
No. And on that topic, there's a whole concordance of, it's literally a glossary called the King's English. And it's all those words that you would come across and be like, what the crap does that mean?
Like roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well.
Like when Jesus made a roundabout.
Yeah.
Like
it means U-turn.
Yep. It's true.
So, like, all this stuff, I mean, it's literally a whole glossary.
Give us a crazy word.
Sackbut is a horn resembling a trombone.
Oh.
Okay, like.
That's what Hunter played in high school. Was a sack butt.
Play the old sack butt.
To strike hands means to seal an agreement.
Huh.
Okay, so that.
To strike hands means to shake hands.
No, that means we're about to fight, bro.
Like. Yeah. I mean, if you shake hands, that's faulty.
A cracknel is a savory biscuit.
Wouldn't you say when you shake hands, if you're shaking hands in the way of like we're sealing a deal, that's what shaking hands
like
means.
Connection. You know, you're trying to
it's
make
like
that
like it's a deal,
firmness.
and you shake hands.
Yeah.
So, these guys at Theology Roundtable did a whole episode just.
Don't promote them, Ash.
Why not? Guys, they are.
Because they could pay us for that.
Yeah. They need to pay us.
You're right. They
wanna
probably
get promoted.
should. They probably should.
Anyways, yeah. If you want to go ahead and listen while we're preparing and be prepared as we're prepared and send us texts about how unprepared we were, go ahead and listen to the Theology Roundtable.
Well, yeah.
I have a question. So you said the question is should we read only King James, or should we use that as our main translation because it is the most accurate?
Accurate.
Right?
Accurate.
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
Like, what
What
does
type of
accuracy mean?
accuracy?
This is what they would say. The King James version. If you want to read ESV, NIV, that's fine. You'll get generally and conceptually God's word, and you will read God's words in those translations. But if you want to read every one of God's words that He had for us,
Okay.
King James.
So here's what I'll say.
Here's what I'll say. the position.
Or here's a thought that I'll erase.
I'll raise you this.
So here's a thought, right? So if a Holy Bible was in them, you know how they put them in motel nightstands?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? And it was not King James, and a sinner who was without God opened that Bible, received the truth of the word, and accepted Christ. That is true. That is not false because they weren't using the King James, is what I'm. You see what I'm saying?
It's not invalidated because they read it. Different.
Sorry. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we take out, I'm going to use this word, salvific. If it doesn't have if
Amen, brother.
Are we kind of limiting this to?
Look at me. I'm proud of you.
Are we limiting this to apologists? Is what I'm asking. Like because
No. Well, apologetics, that's a whole different thing.
so if we're going to use this, I would agree if we're going to use this to determine specific Christian issues, I'm good with that. But I would say I'm wary to say, like, if we don't use this type of Bible, then we're this way or that way.
No, that's.
Are you
not,
saying, like, if you don't read King James, you're not saved?
Not saved, or you're just wrong. You're wrong.
wrong about what?
You're wrong about it. It's not fully right, so you're wrong.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like saying, like, if you don't agree with the Word of Faith movement, do you still regard them as Christians? And if your short answer is yes, then are they
Well,
wrong?
that's a whole different. That's a whole different
It's
discussion.
not.
It
Well,
is.
It's not.
It's a different discussion, but it's the same idea. Is what I guess what I'm saying.
Is Brian Johnson saved?
Right.
Right. I have no way of knowing that.
I guess what I'm trying to say is
I mean, technically,
I'm not ready to throw out all Bibles except King James. I think that we haven't talked about them on this podcast, but before the podcast, we've talked about some compelling issues with other translations.
Yeah, we're just gonna go into that a little bit because that's kind of the whole point is that there is not a Bible that is more like solidly constructed and put together. The King James Bible, there is solidarity and clarity in doctrine within the King James Bible that you will not find in other translations. And that is because the King James translation is the one with no errors. Okay. So
and there are errors in all the others.
That's the position.
That's the claim.
That's the claim. Now, okay, let me ask another question. Could this be okay. I guess if the reader if it's possible for the reader to misinterpret, which we know it's true, we know it's possible for a reader to misinterpret the word in any form, then where was I going with this? I'm busy looking at Hunter and him breaking his mic.
Dismantling it.
Like, okay. To me, the issues that at least the ones we've talked about already, they are, as far as like people who aren't on like an super advanced Christian like level, it's not something that you're going to read and be like, oh, that seems like an issue. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do.
So like, his mic's broken.
Dude, why?
Okay, so it's really bothered me for like the past 10 episodes that your band that says sure is on top.
Yeah,
Mine's
I've
on the
thought
bottom.
the same way.
So why can't I flip it? Like it won't let me take it out.
Oh,
Anyways.
I've also thought this little tube.
Yeah, I want mine to be on the inside.
You shouldn't have bought yours from Guitar Center.
Yep.
Anyways, so
I'm
just go ahead and put this back.
But this is the fundamental question. the translations are very different.
Right.
Is God's word? Can God's word be every translation?
Yes. That's my vote is yes.
Okay, but they all say different things. Did God have a specific word in mind in his preservation? That's
Let me
the
ask
question.
you this.
I'm saying that's the question we're approaching.
I know. And I'm going to answer that question with a question.
Okay, who are you, Jesus?
No, I'm not.
Jesus. What a guy.
So I'm looking at this similarly to the way that we look at denominations. Okay. At the moment, until I'm proven or until I hear more evidence, I'm kind of looking at this like different denominations within the church.
Okay.
Which we all know different denominations do a lot of different things and interpret the word differently than one another.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So unless we believe that which I mean, we all have settled within a denomination, so I guess that would mean that we would believe that our denomination is like the most right out of all the denominations. So, but I'm not ready to say that all denominations are wrong.
That's where I was posing. So since you're a Baptist, is that you saying that you don't agree with the Word of Faith movement, or you don't agree with Presbyterians, or you don't agree with?
But they're not saying. Well, yeah. Never mind.
So yeah, being a Baptist doesn't mean I hate these people, but in some way it means I don't agree fully with what these people think.
Which where I'm at is with most, not all denominations, is I align most closely with the denomination that I'm in for the most part. And there are other denominations that believe other things that are I don't disagree fully with their theology, and I don't think that necessarily their theology damns them, but I don't fully agree with it either. But that's why I'm saying, is it a salvific issue? You know,
no, I don't
Bible
think
translations.
right?
I don't know. Well,
no, and they're not even saying that.
well, I mean, they don't say it, but they kind of like.
Well,
infer.
they explicitly said that they don't think that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, then what are you talking
Because they
about?
make comments like, "How could you read a Bible that says this?" I mean, that is just untrue.
So here's the deal. I have a list of verse references that are examples of omissions and differences in the King James versus the others that have a big effect. Like they mean something different.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've been through a couple of them together, but I guess we just thought we would read them and see what we think about them.
Yeah, and I guess my issue going into it is like the King James Version is a translation. And I feel like I need more than just like if I base everything off the ESV and say this is how this differs from the ESV, I feel like they're centering their argument on the fact that the King James is correct without proving how the King James is correct. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I'm not outfitted to argue that right now.
Yeah.
But
And I'm not saying we need to talk about that now, but I'm saying
So-
that's what I've been kind of researching.
Also,
Barely.
when you indirectly say like a lot of a certain body is wrong by saying this is the right way, I mean, you kind of. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm saying that you kind of start off like I'm quick to get defensive because I don't read King James Version, and if somebody's saying that King James Version is like the only right way, it's kind of like, oh,
not the only right way, it's the most right way.
right.
It's the only perfect way.
Well, it's
That's what they're saying.
right. But if you say it's the only most right way, or it's the most correct way, then every other way is lesser.
Yes.
And so that would infer that I was incorrect in not reading it, right?
No, it would imply that you're missing out on something.
So clearly, we have a lot to
Right.
discuss on this topic, and that's what our next 2 episodes are going to be about. I'm
Maybe
predicting
2.
2.
Yeah,
I'm predicting 2. It might be 1. I don't know. But anyways, we're going to get to the bottom of it, and we're going to find out the truth, and we're going to tell you here on Life in the Pocket. Have a great day.
We're going to translate the Bible ourselves. The litany translate.
I don't want my name on there.
Too late.
The Pocket's
Been done.